all off with the eclipses, and then it's like another one's coming. So maybe that one will put it back on track, you know? Okay, here she is. There we go. Come on, Miss Lotus, are you there? No. Oh no. What is going on? I know she wanted to take Ray to the local fair where they live this morning, and she was out at the barber. I always say she's out getting her hair done at the beauty parlor. Sounds better, right? Sounds more old school. Oh, come on. Lotus isn't online. I just talked to you like 2 minutes ago. So, I'm already so over these eclipses. And there's going to be another one. Really? Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell her I'm live for lunch with Lotus. I know she wanted to talk about a lot this morning. I think even in regards to Jeff Sessions' speech and some other stuff that was going on. I know there's some heat, I guess. I usually don't let like gang stalking or gaslighting or things like that get to me. It's been weird lately. You know, other people's opinions, you know, everything's subjective. You can have your own opinion. However, I really, you know, it doesn't matter to me if, I guess, I don't know, I feel like it's just a lot of women having the green eye, because it's just stupid stuff. The green-eyed demon. Oh, there it is. Come on, Lotus. Why else would I? Hey, good morning.
Hey, are we live?
We are.
Hey, hi everybody. How's your morning been? Short.
Oh my gosh! Wait 1 second. It's just like. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. I can hear you.
It's just this, you know, we have another eclipse coming off, so my sleep has been off. So I'm hoping that this eclipse will set it back, you know, on track.
Yeah. Well, I think all of these eclipses, okay, for example, with these 3 eclipses we've had this year, right? We've had 3 eclipses this year. I have 2 of my houses. I've had eclipses in 2 of my houses, so I don't think it's affecting me as negatively. I think I'm more with the planets than against them. But I know that when we looked at Ray's chart, she has got a lot of stuff in opposition and in triangulation, and like she's got like 8 planets in one house. Like, in her, you know, like I think that that these multiple planetary bodies. Think of them as electrons, folks. Don't think of them as planets or suns. Think of them as electrons in a chemical structure of B12 even. And we're all moving together. When three major things happen to us, our relationship with the moon and Earth, and they happen in three different houses with other planets, that activates changes in every one of those houses for all the you know what I'm saying? So we've had three major house changes in a very short period of time, and depending upon where you lay as a planet, think of yourselves as a planet, not just flesh, but as you have equitable force as the moon in the universe. Think of it that way. That what it does to you. I mean, that's what astronomy is about, and astrology is about. It's about saying each of us is as integral to the nature of the cosmos as the moon is, and that we have a place within not just the planets that we see that are supposed to be part of our system, our realm, but also with other planetary groups and bodies and galaxies of other, bodies, right? So it's a very cosmic dance, and we've had three major shifts with the moon and other planetary bodies, so we are heavily affected by it. And I'm waiting for the third one to be done because I've been very tired too. I think it's this mixing of energies and all these other planetary houses being activated, and it's a pretty magical year. I mean, in that respect, I think we're in a magical time. I think if it weren't so deadly and dangerous and bad for the children, horrific for the children worldwide, that I would be very excited about what's happening in the world. Yeah. But there's a lot of people are paying a very heavy price, and the people that are paying that are the innocent, and that's the worst part. That is the bad part about it. That is what's evil about it. So the energy. Imagine what it's doing to kids. We're conscientious. We are quote adults with a little more knowledge of the realm, and I would ponder if the kids are being fatigued or if the kids are just bouncing off the walls all over the world. Like if they're being riotous, spirituous in their activity. The parents have noticed their children, feeling the moon, feeling the planets. Yeah. Because it really. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, like, if you were to do your astrology chart extended, I bet you would find that probably multiple planets are in the same house in triangulation with other ones, that you're probably in opposition in every other house. That there's a lot of push and pull going in the energy. You're between groups of planets.
Yeah, there's just a lot of pettiness going on. All art is subjective, but...
Yes.
Just a lot of pettiness, just straight up pettiness,
Well, we're actually in a period of fascist McCarthyism, and McCarthyism has a dual meaning. I want people to understand something about McCarthyism. McCarthyism was actually very justified. People say McCarthyism is a bad thing. They blacklisted professors. I'm going to tell you that there was a concerted effort, and you are still seeing the fruits of this concerted effort. McCarthyism was brought about by an insurgence and an infiltration of Russian agents with the intent, and other foreign countries. It's actually other countries, just in general. And I don't care if it's Great Britain, because I don't see why it's okay. Why it's bad for a Russian agent potentially to have a 2-minute conversation with a set-up meeting with the Trump son, but Hillary Clinton and the FBI can actually pay foreign governments for dirt on a presidential candidate. I don't understand how it's okay for Britain and Australia and all these other foreign nations who are not. They are foreign to us. I don't care how the bankers like to play sides or how the attorneys like to play sides in their little puppet games. Britain and Australia and Germany and all those countries that are in that 5 thing that they paid, that the Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration paid to get dirt on a presidential candidate, that's foreign intervention. That's actually treason in the law that Hillary paid and or FBI agents paid foreign governments for false information and dirt on Trump. That's actually a felony and a crime and treason prima facie by law. Not a conversation where hearsay about something was had in a hotel room with someone who's a supposed agent 3rd time removed by Trump's son-in-law. That's not a crime, folks. What Hillary and them did is a crime. It doesn't make a difference that it's Britain versus Russia. If Britain agents were paid to create a fake dossier by our president that that defamed a potential presidential candidate. That is an attempted coup and an act of high treason. Okay, so let's make the distinction between foreign things here. So we are all, in a place where there's a lot of bad energy, and people are being very twisted and used. And they are, that's how you know there's a lot of chaos in the universe right now, because people are just acting stupid. Like openly stupid, and there's a period of McCarthyism going on. So in Russia in the 50s in America, the foreign governments had infiltrated and put people in positions of influence in universities. This is a big one. Universities, and no university was greater, having been infiltrated by fascist, communist. Bad communism, not fascism, Leninism, Stalinism, folks. I don't even want to call it communism. It's Leninism, it's Stalinism, it's totalitarian despotism, it's fascism. They had been infiltrated, the universities had been infiltrated by teachers who were promoting and educating the youth of America and influencing our educational system and systems of state with fascist, Leninist, and Stalinist ideas. And they were affecting crimes against the United States. They were affecting attempts to conspiracy to undermine the United States, and they were following the 10 steps to undermine the sovereignty of the American people, which is the destabilization of the education system. So McCarthy went in and said, "Hey, we have foreign spies that are teaching and have achieved positions of influence and trust within our education and governmental systems within the states, and they need to be routed out." And guess what? And in the media, oh my gosh. So let's look at where we have the same problems we have now as we had during McCarthyism, which is supposed to be bad because we were targeting free speech and we were targeting all these people who were supposed to have all these rights to undermine the laws of the United States. And it's the same institutions. It's the Hollywood, which now not just being fascist and Leninists, now they're pedophiles and they're baby traffickers and they're Satanists. And the media, same people. Remember how McCarthyism, these people are telling you fake news. Oh, that's bad. They're attacking free press. Oh, wait. We have free press lying to the American people. We have free press that has been proven by the very facts of the Trump case, which is a common practice, that the media can be bought. Remember, one of the issues with all the whores running around is that these women would make up these stories about Trump, as they do with famous men and women all the time, and they sell their fake stories and their lies to rags like, rags that do gossip, that you see when you're in the aisles of the grocery store, right? Half the time those are true stories, a lot of times they're just gossip. But regardless, they're stories that no, quote, real news organization will run, but this rag will buy the piece because they know it'll sell papers. Okay? And so Trump is a victim of these types of whorish allegations all the time, as a lot of very famous and wealthy men and women are, and what happens is they have people, the guys will then call them at the newspaper and go, "Hey, we just bought a piece by some whore who says she had an affair with you. We're going to run it. You can buy the rights though for, $150,000. So if that's what Trump did, that's a common practice among people that are in the elite and powerful all the time, because people bring false allegations. They get blackmailed all the time, folks, to have to pay for bad press that's a lie. And it's a form of the press blackmailing rich people, okay? That's what it is. But guess what? When that whore sold her story to that paper, she lost any credibility and rights in the law, and she doesn't even own the story anymore. So Trump, or anybody of monetary means who would rather pay $150,000 than to pay $2 million to an attorney, because that's what the alternative would have been at minimum, he said, "Okay, well, go buy the story." There's nothing illegal about that activity, folks. You know what's illegal is the whore who sold the story, and he had to pay $150,000 to not be extorted by false allegations, which are a crime. But do we have a country where people who are victimized by false allegations ever get their remedy in court and law? And those people who bring false allegations, especially in the press, do they ever go to prison like they're supposed to? No, we send poor mothers to prison so we can steal their babies. See, your world is upside down, folks. Your world is way upside down. It is so upside down, and the cosmos is in such chaos. People are running around crazy. People have lost their minds. These people.
So Lotus, I want to talk to you about this guy. Okay, there's an article in movieweb.com. And, this guy's gone viral on the internet. He's an actor out of Hollywood, Isaac Cappy. And he's been, his posts have been floating around to all the groups. And he's been a part of this underground Hollywood He's accusing actor Seth Green, amongst others, of being a part of an underground Hollywood pedophile ring.
Okay.
And even though he provided zero evidence, only circumstantial and claims, allegations, no real evidence, right?
Right.
Over the past few days, he's been ramping up his social media posts to continue to accuse Seth Green of being a child abuser, along with some of other big name stars like Spielberg.
Seth Green should sue him. Of course, here's the deal.
Well, wait a second. Not just Seth Green, okay? We're talking Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, Stephen Colbert, Bill Clinton, Claire Grant, and I mean, this guy is an actor. He works in Hollywood. And I'm like, what is this guy doing?
Does he have, is he credible?
That's the thing. It's he could. This is why I only report on convictions and indictments, because seriously, folks, if somebody's not being investigated for a crime, or they're not charged with the crime, and you go online and you just accuse them of allegations and say things like this.
Right. Well, let's talk about what the press function is supposed to be by law, under the law, and what the, quote, press is being functions now.
But this is what's dangerous about Q.
That's why we're in a period, people need to understand, we're under a period of McCarthyism, but in the bad sense. In McCarthyism, what happened is Ohio State University is a hotbed of communism, or fascism, Leninism, Marxism to this day. I know that because of the Occupy, the people who came from the university, they had students that were being puppeted by, from what I know personally, not administrators, but teachers, professors at the university were actually trying to facilitate a more than violent, in my mind, student revolt at OSU through so they basically still have the red, they still have communists embedded, quote unquote, in the universities of this country, all over this country, who have been miseducating our children to what is. And that was why McCarthyism happened, right? So, but then you had the press hysteria, because in McCarthyism, the press were exposed as being tools of fascist overthrow, methodologies of overthrow. So what you have is a press that is actually facilitating the overthrow of the sovereignty of the American people, and is abusing its lawful purpose in the law of the press, because that's why I said the press is thus under the law. The press is like an arm of the people that if I can't get, let's say it's a kind of a conspiracy, and the state of people don't have the manpower, the resources, you don't have enough evidence to really show something's happening. You're supposed to go to someone of the press who has the freedom of the press. When I say freedom of the press, that means the press has the authority to go in and demand answers be made in a public fashion, can investigate, and are supposed to be exempt from civil authority, to be, targeted. Like, they're not supposed to go after your family and kill you because you investigate Noriega drug cartel, right? So the free press means they are a separate arm, that are the investigative arm of the people, that are supposed to bring about larger stories and connect the dots, and to report to the people the things that the state doesn't have the time to report on or investigate, or that the people are trying to get the state to look at. The press is supposed to be our voice of truth. That's not what the press is doing. Right now, the press is being used as a tool of despots and fascists and Marxists to target people. Okay, one way. And then the other way is, so this young man, he could have tried to get someone. If he were to say, well, I've tried to talk to people and they won't listen to me, that's one thing. But if this guy just pops out of the blue, has never made a complaint, has never been vocal about this, has never done anything, then I'd say he's totally not reliable or credible. And that's unfortunate. But if we find that he has been vocal and that he has made reports, like these women who said the hashtag Me Too's, a lot of the women in the Me Too, from my understanding, a lot of them, this is their first time speaking, but a lot of them could prove that they had made complaints and have been trying to change the establishment and couldn't. So if this Isaac dude has been vocal and has tried and has records of trying to say, hey, this is happening, this guy, even if it's in tidbits of Twitter or whatever, then I say that and he's saying, hey, they wouldn't listen to me, and your press is your last option then. And that's what the press is for, to announce things. I've used the press in situations to make things happen because you're live, right? You can say things. The press will carry you. They're supposed to be the voice of the people when the states and the instruments of state aren't listening. They're not supposed to be a tool of the deep-rooted, deep-state corruptions of the established banking coup to be used to target whistleblowers and to defame a president and to disseminate false information that undermines the safety and security of the American people. The fact that there are press people disseminating false information that threaten the safety and security of our nation and our country, that are being fed to them by people internal in the state, is an act of treason, folks. That's treason. So when Trump talks about, he may not be able to speak the law word when he says it's fake news. What he should be saying is they're affecting treason. That's what he should be saying, because they're lying. They're perpetuating false narratives.
I just think it's dangerous.
The press for a political agenda. That is not what the press is for. When you do that, you become a lobbyist group. You have to declare yourself of a political affiliation, and you lose protections under the law. See, that's what's happening here. We're all upside down. It's upside down. So this guy should merit if he has a history. But if he just popped out of nowhere and he's got no proof, I wouldn't even get involved in that. And
the LAPD want to arrest him now. Can they do that? Can they send out a warrant?
They can. Absolutely they can. To defame, it is against the law to slander or libel a man or a woman publicly. It is a felonious constitutional act, because when you do that, you are alienating one of their Fourth Amendment properties, character, your character and status and standing in the law. So when you defame me and lie about me in the public, you are defaming my character. You are impugning my character. The impugning of one's character is considered a Fourth Amendment violation. So it is a constitutional violation to defame or impugn a person's character by slander or libel publicly. It is a crime. It's a constitutional crime. It's a founding crime of our instruments of law. So yes, they can arrest this man. But the people who he's defaming have to bring the cause of action, because it's either a libel suit or a slander suit by the statutes, and in which case the state could charge him in that. They could charge him for public slander and libel. They could do that as the state instrument for their licensed agents, because the state owns every one of the names he just gave. Meryl Streep, the corporation, is owned by attorneys. Seth Green, he's owned his name. His likeness in commerce is not his to own. He signed a contract. So Universal Pictures, who owns their contracts, could tell the Los Angeles County Police to arrest him by statute. Absolutely, he could go to jail. Now, constitutionally, Seth Green, the man, would have to charge him with that, and that's a much higher crime, of course. But these kids who go around calling people this and that, and calling someone who's white a racist just because they're white. I mean, this kind of stuff. Those are crimes. Those are crimes. They're high misdemeanors, probably is what they'd be classified. But I mean, I don't know the history of the statutory enforcement of those, but yeah, this dude could be arrested if he has.
Well,
and that's fine. And you can use that as go arrest him. I tell people all the time. I say stuff about people all the time, right? I say, hey, I consider this person this. I beg them to have me, to bring claim against me. Because guess what? I'm not going to invoke their courts, but if you want to bring me to the court, I promise you, if I'm saying something, I have the facts to back it up, and I'll bring forth that effort. So, to me, that gives me, in the fourth crown of law, see, in the fourth crown of law, you don't go starting problems with people. You say your piece, you say the facts, and you walk on. And when those facts are asked to be laid down to support of that, you've got to be here you go, right there. Now I'm going to keep walking my walk, right? When people, I walk my walk, I know what I say, I have the facts. If someone wants to challenge me and wants to have me arrested, put in chains, and challenge what I say and challenge what I do, they better be better than me, because that's when the fourth crown comes in. When you are being unlawfully persecuted for what is a fact of God, that's when the fourth crown goes, oh, hammer down, you're done, you have no jurisdiction in what I say, because the facts say this, and I don't care what your states of men say, because the law says this, and those facts satisfy that. What you little men over here in your little ruminations of demagoguery and demonocracy and Satanism and states of men that war against the woman child, you can do whatever you want to do in your little covens of nothingness. But when it comes to me, you have no say on me, because I don't play your game. I'm not part of your coven. You have a worldwide coven of people who believe that they can tell other people how to live, what to do, how to eat and breathe, and can trade them as commodities and use those people as labor forces, as entertainment, as biological resources to eat, sleep, bleed, whatever. Make drugs from. So I don't play by those rules. I'm a nation of one. I'm a country of one under God. You don't have any say over me. And that goes for the fake, illegitimate government that is run by, and it's made illegitimate because the trustees that are with running the instruments of our state are a criminal enterprise at this point in time. Openly, you can see that in the press.
Yeah. I'm just, and then I guess, everybody just has...
So, those people, if people are defaming you, I mean, people don't understand. You don't get to just go slam people, land-based people. That's a crime.
Yeah.
It's called impugning one's character.
I guess, I've been doing this for so long, Lotus, and I guess all of a sudden now, it's like people have, all of a sudden now, out of the blue, people seem to have an opinion about not people, I should say, just women have an opinion about everything you do. And I'm like, these are my blogs. This is my life.
Music's a little loud for me. Can you turn it on?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. It was just a little loud for me. I have trouble hearing. But I know. Suddenly they have an opinion. You know why? Because suddenly you matter. They're starting to realize, oh my gosh, this is one of the people that actually matters. We need to start defaming her and undermining her works. Yeah. Don't even. That's all they can do. That's why I keep trying. You just look. Steady on. Yeah, steady on, Amelia.
It's
you're
mostly,
on a path.
It's mostly women. It's just very, super petty stuff. Nothing that...
that's the kind of... Okay, I get in trouble with feminists for saying this because I don't really consider women... I consider women who attack other women anti-woman. Okay, first off. And I'm not saying that you should support all women just point blank, but I'm telling you that women who attack other women are what I call well-socialized women, and they've been well-socialized by misogynistic men. And why would a woman why would a man need to attack a woman whenever he can train all his women to attack the women? Like you got men, and I use this example all the time. Women are always mad at the quote whore that took her husband, but she never really thinks about the fact that her husband broke the first contract. And so the women are taught to hate other women instead of actually looking at the man who's the source of the problem, who actually was the violator of the trust. So women who attack other women, in my mind, are just misogynistic tools, and that they've sold womankind out for the mouth, the substitute of the mouth of the prying man, and he just sits them out there. And that's from a feminist perspective. No woman should ever, ever, ever attack another woman over constructs of another woman bringing the plight of women or children and the misogyny of this culture forward.
I respect everybody's path. Even if I disagree, everybody has a right to right. It's their journey, their lessons, and who am I? Who am I to say anything? But
tell me how I am all the time. I always tell them, well, when you figure it out, write a book and give it to me, because I'd like to read about myself. I might learn something. You know, like, who are you to know me? Yeah, I don't even know me.
Usually it doesn't get to me. Like, it doesn't bother me. I mean, sleep's been crazy since this eclipse, though. I've
been doing this. I'm feeling a sense of nothing getting done, nothing changing.
Yeah.
And I'm getting really tired because, like I said, I'm sitting here. I try not to even read the news very often because it's so obviously
contrived.
Screwed up.
It's contrived.
Contrived. It's not what they're telling you. Why are no Americans going? Okay, so Britain can create a false report. Britain, their deep state, could create a false report about our current president while he was running for president. They could send it to the current administration at the time, and the FBI paid a foreign government to create dirt on our president, folks. But that's not a crime. But a potential 32-minute conversation that was set up by this now we find nefarious, no, to me, Trump's, all the people they're bringing, I think it's funny watching judge sophists. Like, I think it's funny reading the Mueller things, how the judge himself is like, this is a mockery. You're talking about the man's clothes. What does this have to do with Russian interference? Like, they're making a mockery of themselves. You're sitting here watching them talk about these guys. And if you read this stuff from the press, they're like, the accountant admitted criminality or something. I read what it said. No, he didn't. He said, I was concerned about some of his filings, but I filed them anyway. Guess what? If that accountant, okay, you have to understand the law here, folks. If an accountant was on the stand and admitted that he filed anything that he thought was a question, he got paid to be, he was actually the accountant, not the attorney. The accountant was considered the expert there. So if the accountant is now admitting he committed a crime, then he should have been arrested. He didn't do that. He admitted that some of the stuff in there may not have been accurate. He wasn't sure. He was questioning it, but he filed it as his accountant. That's not an admission of wrongdoing. That's an accountant not trying to not lie against his client, but not trying to get charged with an act of criminality for filing a false tax return, because these attorneys are affecting tyranny. Tyranny. There's no laws being broken here, folks. And by the way, if someone would like to find for me in the Title 20, in Title 18, where conspiracy itself is a crime, I'd like to see it, because it's not. The word conspiracy, or no, it wasn't conspiracy, it was collusion. Collusion is not a crime. If someone could say the act of collusion, show me anywhere in any criminal activity where it says just the word collusion is a crime. There has to be a collusion with the intent to do something. So collusion is the preface of intent of a crime, but if there's collusion to do good, it's not a crime. Do you get it, folks? So you're sitting here being lied to, and you're letting things be twisted, and people are just going off the chain on stuff, and they're reacting like knee-jerking everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with everybody's on edge by the energy. We know we're being lied to, and these people who are weaker in spirit, I'm going to say this, I don't care what anyone says, the people who are weaker in spirit are going to be more prone and not in line with Goddess. The ones who don't know their place in the realm are the one, and don't believe in a higher power other than the state, are going to be the ones running around acting like crazies. Because, see, the statist mindset is the state. There is no God. The state is my God. What the state presents, what the press, what is my state? They only know what the world presents to them.
Well, I want to talk about though, Lotus, really quick too. I want to make sure that I get this in. We've gotten to the point in the courts where they have held, where morality can't be held as a basis for law in our courts. Ministers are fearful to affirm as they understand, the holy writ from the pulpit. And we have one group that is actually targeting another group on a hate basis for their religious beliefs. So on Monday, July 30th, Jeff Sessions filed, I guess, with the Department of Justice, the Department of Judges, a new division It's a religious liberty division of the Department of Justice.
HHS already has one now.
Yeah.
The HHS has a division now too. And I truly believe and we talked about this very shortly because I told you I want to discuss this because I think that our case, Jeff Sessions got a letter and a copy of our writ that's in D.C. right now, where we expose the Fourth Crown and we expose the fact that we're not supposed to be held to these civil magistrates and that you are stealing our children against our law and you're affecting fraudulent bankruptcies, and it's a criminal act by our law. You're trustees. I'm telling you that our law says this. And you're using our wealth to run your government. So this is the law. And people can be mad all they want, but our law is founded on Christian tenets. And, guess what? Be glad it's not founded on Wahhabism or Babylonian slave trade like all your other religions are. See, Christendom doesn't support slavery, folks. Okay? We're the only ones that do not support slavery. Even the Catholic Church supports slavery. Christians and Catholics are two different things. Catholics like to ride on the coast of Christians, as far as I can tell, but they like to torn it to their benefit. They want to pay a tithe when they sin. They want to be able to go pay money and indulgence to the Vicar of Christ, so they can still get into the holy temple. They can get into our kingdom of heaven, but they sinned their whole lives. But they had a lot of money to pay the Pope in the end. See, that's not what Christians think. So our government is founded on the law of Orthodox Christendom, and they are violating that, and they are running the government based on Babylonian slave trade, and they are trading our children as commodities and have no morality about it, and are stealing our kids under civil forfeiture, and your prison system is completely human trafficking. That's what the law says.
Well,
so,
Lotus,
as far as I'm concerned, Jeff Sessions has come to God because he's been told, and he's probably, if he's actually a good man, he probably read my letter and went, "Oh my gosh, my whole world is not what I thought it was." Guess what? He should have me come speak and be one of those members in that committee, because I'm the one that can speak to the law that Christians have a right to, that the entirety of this nation was founded on, and that stems to our rights in banking and to be free of their forms of tyranny. The Federal Reserve as it's being run right now by the attorneys, is a criminal act by the law that governs this nation. It's criminal in its intent, and it's criminal in its designs, because it's just there to slave traffic Americans. And guess what? Everybody in the rest of the world, when Trump says we're the piggy bank of the world, he's not lying. See, he doesn't understand the law side. He understands the business side of the corruptions of the system. He's saying, why is America actually why is Germany a welfare state of the United States? Why is Great Britain a welfare state of the United States? Why are 100 other countries a welfare state of the American people, where we're starving, we're having problems, our economies are depressing, and yet they're getting welfare from us through trade embargoes? You have to look at it that way, folks. We are the welfare, we are the bankers of the entirety of the world that's living on the American people as welfare states. That's what Trump understands. That's what the Federal Reserve Act has given us. We're the slaves of the world. And he's tired of it, and I'm tired of it. Mostly because they're stealing our babies to pay for their debts. They basically hawk our children as things and sell them to famous people, to wealthy people. So that's what do you think's happened in Hollywood? I mean, seriously, folks.
It's you see it a lot more. I think it's really common. Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, but it's really common to rehome the children.
But let's think about the states of men, because see, those states of men didn't exist except for the men who made those states. So what type of man makes a state where you can commoditize children? Oh wait, that would be men who think they can commoditize their own children and their own women. I know a couple religions that believe that, not Christendom. Okay, so you have to understand, the people who believe that you can commoditize children for states of men believe also that men have the right to convey their children as property and their wives as property. Wow, that sounds like old slavery. So it's okay for the state to enslave our children, but it was bad for a whole bunch of rich white men to have indentured indentured servitude and cooperatives, their plantations. Some of them were actual cooperatives, true communes, where the tenants had a vestment in the crops in the South. Not every one of them was a slave plantation, folks. There were slave plantations. There were also cooperatives. And those cooperatives were evolving a form of government, a form of commerce, cooperative commerce. But, the Babylonian slave traders couldn't have any competition. They can't have free-thinking people in equitable contract in a republic format who own everything collectively. True utopian communism, interfering or competing with their controls of all the lands held by a select few for the last 5,000 years. So people don't understand how flipped upside down the world is. I just had a very short conversation with the woman I've been talking to for a couple of years. And I say the same thing. I've been saying the same thing for about 9 years now, okay, about how to get out of this. This is the law. It's all repository trust law. We are in a trusteeship. And what is keeping these things from easily being corrected is these masses of people that are fluoride heads. They don't know what they're talking about. They're miseducated. They're uneducated. Those are two different things. You're miseducated. That's when you had a book put in front of you by an authority and you read it and you believed because it was from an authority and you said, okay, that's the truth. And then you find out that was a lie. That's miseducated. Uneducated is when there's a fact in front of your face and you refuse to believe it or see it because you want to go on your little personal tangent and your little one issue craziness and think that the whole world should revolve around your one narcissistic problem. That's uneducated. And you have people that are doing that everywhere, and it's not about black, white, and people are easily we are really in the throes of Bolshevism. I can't even tell you how we are literally repeating history with different balances. Like if we'd had the internet during World War II and the rise of Nazi fascism, it would have never happened, because I've spoken to Germans who were teenagers and 20-year-olds at that time, and they said that they had no idea in their own country what was going on. You know why? Because the Nazis were controlling the media. So the people of Germany had no idea what Hitler was doing. The Americans knew more of what Hitler was doing because of we had free press. So our press was actually telling the world what Hitler was doing, while the people in Germany were being isolated and prevented from knowing the truth by their coup press. Okay, So the internet has prevented the coup of that press within our country and has become a balancing power, and that's why you're being targeted. And even people that I don't believe in. All these opposing views, Alex Jones and stuff. Some of the stuff Alex Jones says is true. Some of it's hooey, but he has every right. Why is he not protected the same way Howard Stern was when he was a shock jock?
Exactly.
Howard Stern was crazy thing. You know why? And it goes back to the FTC versus the FCC. Okay.
What is the difference, Lotus? Lotus, did I lose you? Oh, okay.
What is the reason why Alex Jones? I'm sorry. The reason why Alex Jones is being targeted is he doesn't have the protections.
But first premise, what is the difference between the FTC and the FCC?
Well, just the words themselves. One is federal trade versus federal communications. Okay, so my argument of why the internet, should be regulated under the FCC instead of the FTC is because if you are affecting commerce, okay, and you're let's say you're doing trade. So like we talk about it, being banned from Facebook is equivalently the same as the AT&T phone company telling you, we're going to shut your phone off because we listened to a conversation you had with someone in your little private group here over the phone, and we were offended. It's against our policy, our mean policy. We have a policy against mean people, and we heard you being mean to someone over your telephone call, so we're gonna take your phone away for 30 days, and you can't get back on. You're just without a phone for 30 days. Okay, so the reason why the Facebook is allowed to do that, but AT&T can't, is because one of them is regulated by the FCC and one of them is regulated by the FTC.
I see.
The way I argue is that the internet is a public airways, so just like telephone, and so they're trying to prevent the internet from being regulated. the same way phone companies are as a public utility, because then people don't have the protections under the laws of the United States, such as free speech, and we can be targeted, and then they can use the internet for political manipulations and tools. Oh, and they can also spend 99% of that internet power, which we never see, for trading babies, making porn movies, making snuff films, trading in pornography, trading in, they don't want the internet regulated like a utility, because then all of the criminality would be shut down. So the reason why we don't have the same protections, and the internet can be used as a political tool to affect dissent and destabilize a market, the world, politics, nations, and throw people's lives into chaos, and have your life ruined by one rant in a day. Only when you're apparently of one form of political leaning, because you can be, the New York Times hiring a racist, anti-man, anti-white editor who has a history of that, and hiring that person and defending the hiring of a bigot and an open racist when they are lambasting people every day and saying people should be personally ruined for their racist beliefs. So apparently it's okay to be a racist as long as you're the right kind of racist that suits the agenda of their political masters. So that's not supposed to be allowed, folks. It's not supposed to be allowed anywhere, really. You're not supposed to be, and if you do that, under FTC rules, you have to have equitable time. Have you ever noticed that Judge Jeanine and CNN, they always have to have like one person from each side who profess to be from each side? They're required by their licensure to present a fair and balanced situation. Okay, that's by law, by statute, by legislation. That prevents the press from being used as a political tool. Okay, so why is all this stuff on the internet not regulated as a public utility? How is it not a public utility? The university system paid for its development. Now, I'm pondering who really actually owns the trademark for the internet, because the French had an intranet before we ever had anything. They had their own intranet. And they had it through TTY machines. I saw it in operation before we ever had an internet. Every person in France had like a TTY little for a phone. The government issued them, and they were like little message machines. And you could actually not call your neighbor, because they didn't want it. That you could type a message to your friend across France, and it would come up on their phone. So they had an intranet before we ever had an internet. But the fact of the matter is that the internet is a public utility that is being unregulated, and people are affecting fraud through communications. Thus, it should be under the FCC, because Facebook defrauded its shareholders, and it was including criminal activity in its bottom line of its marketability. And you saw the course correction, the market correction for such frauds, when you saw it drop for a value greater than the total value of McDonald's empire in one day. So Facebook was affecting, using the internet.
Hi. Are you still with me? Lotus? Uh-oh. Okay, we're getting interference. Nothing new. Let's see. Okay. Stand by. Let me see if I can figure this out. Says the speaker's on. Is that it? Oh, shoot, well, she's trying to call me, but it's not coming through. It's coming through on a different device. That is so strange. It's so strange.
Are you there?
I'm here. That was so weird.
I just got totally shut down.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird one. That was different.
Well, poignant, though, because this is a really important part of this, folks, because I want you to understand what's really going on. This is where your government, as just a series of corporate charters, sent. Oh, I got back on. Ray was trying to call you to tell you I just got shut down. The FCC. It has been, and I'm getting ready to tackle them as soon as, I'm tackling a lot of things here, folks. But the FCC, when I get banned, I'm banned from Facebook. I can't even send an instant message to you, Amelia. I mean, like, they literally shut my account down. I don't care. To me, Facebook is not the end all and be all. I do consider Facebook a public utility, though, because there are people that I can only communicate with them through Facebook, through IM and stuff, because we don't even, people, there are a lot of people that don't give their phone numbers out over the internet, and some people I've talked to personally over Facebook, but there's some people that I can only get, especially foreigners, that I only talk to over Facebook or through Facebook chat, the phone. So when they're banning people to the degree you can't even instant message, which is for the purpose of just shutting people down in toto for communicating. They just don't want you to be able to communicate with anyone. And I think it's interesting that I was banned right before all this stuff with Mueller, because I promise you I'd be slamming them on this stuff right now on Facebook. And my memes and my comments get disseminated. They have an effect. So as far as I can tell. Mm-hmm. But, when that's actually a violation, in my mind, of a public utility, because they don't have the right to create a format that they perpetuate as an open forum that you don't have to give an ID for. There's no requirement to certify your identity. But suddenly, if you start talking about something that the powers that be don't want you talking about, even in a private thread on your private page, think about this, folks. My page is public. I have people come to my page all the time. Everything I do is public. You don't like what I don't do when it comes to public fare, march on, okay?
Yeah, just don't bother. I have these women online, and they don't want me posting content to my blog that they feel isn't suitable, that a child couldn't watch. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, you're going to make me responsible. You're going to project onto me and try to make me responsible for censoring my content. So because you don't want to supervise your children online. I'm like, you're kidding me.
Captain Kanger Durant. You aren't Mr. Green Jeans. This is adult content, and you know what? If a teenager,
I expose child trafficking and corruption. Seriously, you want me to censor my content because you don't want to supervise your children online. I'm sorry. That's like, I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. She just wants to censor my content, period. It's not about, children are seeing this. That's just
woman. I would have called her that. I was like, you're stupid. I would have said, you're just stupid. I tell you what, we'll keep it secret. Doesn't she? She's clearly not a feminist, because one of the first instruments of feminism and all types of movements to change reality is to talk about it and to expose it. Silence is death. Remember, that was the 8th. Silence. So you have women telling you to be silent about crimes against children. Those women should be shunned and said they're stupid. Those are stupid women. Stupid. And I'd say it to their face, and I'd argue with them. And I, as a feminist, as a real feminist, not just fake stuff.
I did argue with this woman. She, and usually I don't entertain, they don't bother me, and I don't entertain it. I don't even know why. I don't even know why because I guess she was just so profoundly, I lost Lotus again. What's the point of having a blog if other people can censor and try to censor you? All right, I think that may be it for Lunch with Lotus. I'm not sure, because we keep getting cut off. Okay, Lotus. All right, are you there, Lotus?
Are you there?
I'm here.
Getting some serious interference today, aren't we?
I know, right?
Well, those women should be shunned. And, she wants to, that's like saying, let's not talk about rape. Let's not talk about murder. That's just moronic. That's beyond ignorant. And, you know what? I'm all about shielding children. You know how you shield children? They shouldn't be on the internet. I'm going to tell you this. My children would not be allowed on the internet like these parents. My kids aren't going to have phones like that. I think it's abhorrent.
Well,
there are things on the internet that
I have on my internet, like, I have the what is it? That's like he can only go to certain sites, and he can only. I have what is it?
Again, if the FCC were in charge of the internet, there would be ratings. And do you understand? That's the other thing. Again, if they actually regulated the internet like the public utility it is, it would shut down 90% of the deep state, folks, because they're affecting criminality over the internet. That's why they don't want it regulated as the public utility that it is. They're using the internet. Again, your children shouldn't be on the internet because it's not regulated the way it should be to protect children from such things. So if there's a vacancy in children wandering through Facebook on the sites that are inappropriate for their age because parents aren't paying attention to the internet, that's on the parent. That's bad parenting. Because that parent should realize that internet has stuff on it. There are people have to understand. I grew up before the internet. My generation built the programming, built the computers, created COBOL, did all that. We were the ones that had the first generation computer classes where we learned base programming on old IBMs with magnetic tapes. That's my generation. I had friends in high school that could hack the FBI. I had 2 friends in my high school that were caught up in criminal activities that the feds came in and took their computers. These were 14 and 15-year-old boys, folks, that knew how to work modems, like in War Games, the movie, with Matthew Broderick. I had friends in my high-end elite high school that actually were charged under federal crimes. The children shouldn't be allowed on the internet as long as it's not regulated.
Remember, shall we play a game?
Absolutely. Play a game. Do you know what your child could be viewing on the internet unsupervised by a parent who has a little bit of information? And these kids today, they know programming. They're whizzes at it. But, I mean, seriously, I had 2 friends in high school. One dude got escorted by the FBI to the local. They took all his computers and said, if you do this again, we will put you in federal prison as a teenager. And, but guess what? He got a job as soon as he got finished college through them. That's what they do. That's the kind of stuff they do. But these kids, if your children are on the internet unsupervised, they could be getting into the deep web, the dark web. They're seeing way worse than you talk about. They're seeing real snuff films.
Well, first of all, no child should be going to my blog or even hearing about the child trafficking and
exposing the children.
Pedophilia. I mean, if you're worried about censoring my content online, you shouldn't be having your child unsupervised online. Period. That's bad parenting, like you said.
And bad parenting, it's someone wanting to perpetuate the crimes against the children by telling you to be silent.
Yeah.
Anyone who's promoting the silence of whistleblowers is a tool or a shill and needs to be shunned and called stupid, and exactly what they are. They are people that are perpetuating the crimes. If you're too ashamed to look at the truth, then get out of my way, because I'm not going to sit. I tell people they eat babies. They literally eat our babies. Like, num, 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 chew on them, eat them, folks. You think that humanity is sane and normal because of what we prescribe to every day in America. People don't understand America is a very safe and peaceful nation. There are places in the world and in other countries where the ruling elite and the governments and the people in the powers that be eat and prey upon children, pay to have them shipped in, cut them, bleed them, suck them, do horrible things to human babies. And there are people in our government providing them those babies. Okay? That's what Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, according to insider FBI agents, said they were doing. They were trafficking babies, folks. through the Clinton Foundation. Let's see, they trafficked uranium, they trafficked babies, they bought a dossier from Britain, but that's not a crime because, Britain's our ally. What right does Britain have? Because this is really the point here, folks, and this speaks to the Fourth Crown and Christian freedom. As I said on the show when we're talking Lunch with Lotus and on other shows, but when we talk all the time, the Russians are Orthodox Christians, folks. The Russians are the only other Orthodox Christian nation in the world. Don't you find it funny that the propagandists and the Marxists are always talking bad about Russia, Russia this, Russia that? But we have proof of fact on the record currently in our government that Britain is the one that actually created the fake report on our now current president. A foreign country produced a false dossier during an open election, got paid to produce it by people in the Clinton Foundation or in the Clinton camp and by Obama and the FBI. You have state agencies that paid a foreign government for false information that they asked probably under the table. Can you produce a false dossier? Can you go grab anything you could possibly just shove together? That's a pack of lies, and we'll pay for it. And we're going to substantiate an entire agenda that is an attempted coup on a lawful elected presidential candidacy. That's treason, folks. It's right in your face. It's in your face. And there's people running around with their heads. There's a movie that just came out. I can't think of it is, but people turn into zombies, and when they're done, they stick their head in the sand. I can't remember. It's like set in Australia. But that's what this reminds me of. It's like these people have their heads. They're walking around with their heads up their butt because what they're talking is not fact. And I can't believe that. And the news, the narratives, the false political narratives that have been perpetuated in the press and in Hollywood are so obviously not truth. And there are people still believing it. So the New York Times can lambaste someone for a potential racist slight against blacks, but they'll hire an editor who's openly anti-white and anti-male and promotes violence against them, by the way, and that's okay. You can have Roseanne, who makes a comment about someone she didn't know was black that had nothing to do with racism in her mind, and as a Jew, and has a contract clause that says they can't even fire her. And people have to realize, you watch Roseanne, ABC had a contract clause. They couldn't even do what they were doing. So they violated a contract. They committed a crime when they canceled her show. That was a crime. That was a crime of contract. So they defaulted on a contract with hundreds of people for a tweet that wasn't, from its origins, racist. And yet you can have other people say openly racist things, and they not only don't shut the show down, they don't even admonish the person. But again, if you're one of the fascist Marxist liberals, which that's what liberals are really. And that was interesting. Did you just see the tweet by Donald Trump's son?
No, I didn't see that. I'm not on Twitter.
He actually just tweeted that the Democratic Party is Nazis, and they are. He actually was like, hey, did you know in history the Socialist Democrats were the Nazis? See, he's not being racist, folks. He's not being political. That's actually a fact of history, which none of you know because you've been educated by morons to not know anything. But the Democratic Socialist Party in Germany are the ones who became the Nazi Party. So keep that all in mind when you're running your flag-waving banners around for democratic socialism. Go read some history and realize that you're really just tools of the Nazi Party. That's never really went away. It just took over the American government. So, people need to start, again, we talk about discernment. And to me, I personally am very tired. I've been very tired this last week, especially emotionally, because I'm like, I have a feeling that there's going to be a certain percentage of people, no matter what you say to them and no matter what truth is out there, that they are just not going to believe it because they want to be stupid. They want to believe that their little imaginary world that they thought they lived in is what the world is. But what they don't get is that in that world, children are treated as a commodity and are being kidnapped and stolen by people within our state. They're being trafficked by people in our state across the border, within the states, out of our country. I promise you, folks, there are American babies that have been taken by CPS in this country who cannot be found in this country and have been shipped out of this country and sold. I promise you.
Yeah. They're not just trafficking foreign babies. They're trafficking babies from America, from Mexico, from Brazil, from everywhere.
Yep. And I just actually
from India.
Spoke to a young man today. Yeah, and I tell people, I was like, whatever they're talking about is happening on the border. That happens in the States too. Right now, the reason why they want to focus on the borders, because with international borders, they can enjoin the executive branch and say it's all on them. What's happening in the courts in those states after those children are conveyed, that has nothing to do with the federal government. Okay, some of those kids getting shipped to New York from New Mexico, that wasn't the federal government, folks. That was the attorneys between the states doing that. I promise you. And I also thought that was really interesting that Trump said that the ACLU should have produced the parents. And that's true. You have the ACLU representing parents that aren't there. So the children would then by law be abandoned. If the parents have been let free or they can't be found, there's no real party of interest anymore. So he's actually affecting the law. Again, the attorneys are twisting the law and applying it when they want to apply it, and then not applying it when they don't want to apply it. You can see that in the Mueller case. They want to give an open traitor. By the way, I also read a political piece where the man was saying that Mueller had no right to grant immunity for treason, and that's true. And any more than Comey has the authority to grant immunity to Hillary for treason. He can't do that. That's against the law, folks. That's why Comey's going to go down. And I'm going to tell people this: if they don't bring these people to justice, you have no government. You're like worse than third world military coups. It's just coup by attorneys this time, folks, by corrupt criminal attorneys. I mean, you have to understand that if Hillary is not charged with a crime, if Comey is not charged with a crime, if Obama are not charged criminally under the law for what they did during their administration and as private people after serving in instruments of state, with the influence they garnered as an agent of the state, if they're not charged, you have no government. The United States is done. America's not done, because that's the people. But if they don't get charged, if Sessions and all these people that are obstructing justice, they're sitting there talking about. Now they say Mueller's going to try to announce something right before the election. That man, that's a criminal. If he makes a political statement that Trump affected obstruction of justice and he has no proof of that, and he hasn't got indictments on it, and he doesn't have solid proof and have a grand jury and a list of presentments, if he makes any type of announcement that is having any potential effect on the elections, that he cannot sustain by law, he is a criminal openly, trying to effect a coup, a treason, because undermining the laws of the United States in a concerted fashion is considered an act of treason. If you sit there and say someone's guilty of a crime as a special prosecutor right before an election to try to have an influence on the election itself, that would be considered an act of war against the United States. So if Mueller opens his political mouth, because that's all he is, he's a political tool. That's all he's ever been. Because there's no foundations. You can tell that in the Mueller case. With the case that they're bringing on the first, Manafort. They're sitting there talking about Manafort having a $10,000 suit fetish and getting paid to peddle influence for corporations from one to another. Guess what, folks? That's all attorneys. That's not just Manafort. Isn't that right, Amelia? That's all attorneys.
Yep.
Trump's attorneys are just attorneys. I think it's funny that Mueller's trying to present this guy as some unusual. He's just extravagant. And okay, Mueller, how much did your suit cost? I really would. I'd be like, so, how much is your suit, sir? What the heck? What does that have to do with conspiring to undermine the laws of the United States? Trump never did that. Clinton did. Obama did. Comey did. Mueller did. Actually, they've actually tried to undermine the laws of the United States. Oh, okay. Is Mueller maybe going to come after me?
What do you think of all of these anti-Marxism rallies and anti-violence rallies What do you, I mean, I personally, I don't.
The anti-violence rallies that bring sticks and yell in people's faces. Yeah. I'm going to tell you, if I was in a public place and someone stuck a bullhorn in my face, I would consider that a personal assault, and they would have no front face. Because I have diminished hearing. If someone were to me, that bullhorn in your face, that actually is assault. I have a freedom in law. First off, I own the land I stand on. So if you touch me in any way, shape, or form and push me off of it, that's actually an assault in the law. I own the land I stand on from where my feet touch it to the center of the earth. Okay? That's the law. I possess that. If you remove me and make me move from that by your force or your aggressions, that's considered an aggressive behavior, because you pushed me from the land I was holding. Get it? It's like casting a ship into the open waters. So if I'm standing and I have to move back because you have a bullhorn in my face and it's hurting my ears, that's assault. I have a right to live freely and walk freely.
I don't understand.
Far as my arms extend. Now,
I have never in my life, my whole entire life, have seen people behave in this manner. Yep. For political reasons. Politics.
Yeah, and they have some right. They think they have some right to affect crimes against people's persons for their little political agenda, and they don't. See, that's why I don't do politics, because I'm old school diehard. You stick a bullhorn in my face from the time frame I came up, that bullhorn's going to be shoved somewhere real quick. You don't stick bullhorns in people's faces. That's actually assault. If my wife has 30% hearing and she has water on her ear on a constant basis, if you were to stick a bullhorn or put a loud noise in her, she's had a bullhorn shoved in the face before, and it hurts. It literally is painful. It hurts. People with hearing problems, and even normal hearing, putting a bullhorn in someone's face, shouting at 90 decibels in someone's face is a crime. And I would make sure, I promise you, I would defend that. That bullhorn would be placed very surreptitiously in a place they wouldn't be able to remove it. People thinking that they can do that, shout people down, that's a crime. I have a right. You stand up, you stretch your arms out like the artist of the man in the scene, I can't think of his name, Da Vinci's Standing Man or whatever, Posing Man. I have a right to the extent of my arms to create a circle of existence where I am free of oppression. If someone comes within your arm's reach of you, you have a right to tell them they've stepped into your realm. So
this. What do you think of this Trump derangement syndrome?
I think they're psychotic. I think they need mental help. Because here's why: most of these people are mentally ill to begin with, because when you take a person and you lie to them and you tell them one thing and they build their whole lives around a falsehood, and then they come to understand or to just not really know what's going on, you start to see if that starts to break down, you become psychotic. I mean, you have people that are showing themselves to be psychotic. They're having psychotic breaks because of what they perceive Trump to be versus what they don't perceive him to be. And what's so funny is Trump he's just a nationalist, and he speaks freely. He's not a politician. He doesn't care. He says it the way he says it. I find humor in his speeches. And I find it funny that he's a popularist, and people don't like that. People don't like that he can actually, though he's a multimillionaire, he actually can relate to the common man, and he can actually speak in a manner that the common man understands. And that's dangerous if you are an agent of coup, and the man you're speaking of is the leader of the free world. You have to understand, Trump is, like he even said his last, I watched the speech, I don't remember what it wasn't the Pennsylvania speech, one after. He says, I didn't need this. I didn't need any of this. I got all the money I need. I came to help. I came out of retirement to help. He didn't need any of it. He has no horse in the game for his own personal lucre. Okay? Mm-hmm. Everybody else does. Mueller does. Clinton does. Obama does. Sessions does. Everybody in the state of things is required by their history to control and maintain the status quo and the laissez-faire criminality that's been pervasive in this country for well over 100 years, in order for their own personal gain and lucre. Obama especially. Okay, he had hit.
It happened again? Really? Lotus, I think we have to...
I get more phone calls from random people when I'm on the phone with you than I get all week.
Oh, but, I know, right? I got 2 1-800 number calls. Okay, so listen, I got to wrap it up, but let's...
Yes, too.
Okay, because I know you want to take Ray to the state fair. That's so cute.
I've never been, but I want people, I don't know what to tell people except that, just keep watching. But if people sit and just really pay attention, read through what's being said to you, you're going to start to see how their agenda is exposing that they feel like they can behave in one way and that the law applies to them in a certain way, and then it applies a different way to everybody else. And that type of entrenched social manipulation and legal control of the law is how governments get overthrown and how governments get into civil war. And Americans need to start shutting that down. They need to start shutting people like Maxine Waters down. They need to start shutting down people like Mueller and his old entourage, spending millions of dollars to bring us cases about international attorneys living extravagantly. I mean, really, who doesn't know that? I mean, is that really news? Is that news to you, Amelia?
No.
That there are attorneys that have... No, I mean, I even talk about that. I've known attorneys that had $1,000 ties. Come on, folks. That's what they're there for. That they like that. They love the control and the power and the money and the wealth. If you think that Bill Gates is wealthy, imagine how much his attorneys make. Think about it, Amelia. I wonder how rich his attorneys are. People don't think like that. So, a new time, new day. But people need to start really shaming people that are targeting people like you, Amelia. They need to start calling censorship of public utilities what it is. They need Facebook needs seized. Facebook needs seized. It is a criminal enterprise. They have defrauded their shareholders. They have defrauded the American people. They have affected crimes in commerce. And yet the FCC wants to say that it won't regulate it. You want to tell me why? How much money has Facebook made in fraudulent commerce, but the FCC wants to say it won't regulate them? You ponder and that's a political agenda, folks. That's a political agenda. It's political. And until we start addressing that hidden, unseen political agenda hand of attorneys, DOJ policies, because people got to remember when Trump first came in, one of the first things the DOJ did, apparently Obama had been running the DOJ, and the DOJ had been instituting people not following statutes by memos from random people in the FBI. They were basically telling low underlings in the states to not comply with federal law, state laws as a policy. They were just like, oh, we're not going to enforce that. Just don't enforce it. Do you realize that that's an act of criminal and that's treason? I mean, so, you're saying we have laws and people need to abide by them. And if Mueller and Sessions and all these people in these upper ranks of state aren't going to abide by the law and apply the law equitably across the board, then we have a problem. And if Americans don't start calling this type of fascism, this false McCarthyism out, of this abuse of the politicking of the press and the politicalization of the FBI, and we have a politicalization of a special prosecutor now. So we have a special federal prosecutor who's basically a political tool to try to undermine the presidency of the United States. That's treason, folks. That is actually a definition of an act of treason. When you when you try to infringe upon a lawfully elected person's a capacity to fulfill their seat in office, that is treason. So them trying to interfere and to obstruct Trump in any way, even politically, through false reports to the press that prevent him from affecting his job as POTUS, that's treason. So if people aren't going to start calling this stuff out, then kiss whatever you see goodbye. Just kiss it goodbye. Just kiss it goodbye. Because in 6 months or a year, it's not going to be here. Because if they even try to pull the stuff with Trump, I promise you think crazy liberals that just scream through bullhorns are crazy. Wait to see what's going to happen if they try to impeach Trump. You're going to see guns come out the hills, folks. So you keep letting this fascism lie and run in your political spectrum. And you just look out the door and say, kiss it goodbye. And you can kiss your children's future. You can kiss everything you thought American. Nowadays, goodbye, because it's not going to be here if this keeps going. We will be in fascist overthrow, overt. We're already there in my mind, and it's not something you want. So this needs shut down, and I'm glad that you keep doing what you're doing. Steady on, Amelia. Don't let these stupid women interfere with what you're doing, because you're doing more we're doing more, you and I, in the hour and a half that we've had this conversation than those women have done in a lifetime, I bet you, for children. So I don't care what stupid women say. I don't care. And I'm a woman saying that. That's probably why I was forced to be born a woman this time around, because I'm going to tell it like it is. And women who act like that and who target people like you and I and tell us that we're making mistakes for exposing things and we shouldn't be promoting people walking a law and we shouldn't be talking about stuff.
Well, those people, you censor and suppress all these issues that society has. And you want everybody to pretend that it doesn't exist. That's why it's become an epidemic that it has. Is this
absolutely
false,
silence?
Yeah, the false reality that's contrived that they perpetuate. It's it's allowed the censorship and the fake be positive all the time, don't acknowledge it. That's what's allowed it to flourish the way that it has, really.
Absolutely. And discourse and fact and truth are the only thing that's going to correct injustice. Remember, we talked about morality and the law. Lawlessness is a sin. And so law, the highest law is the moral code of man. And the highest law being the doctrine, the safety and security of the people is the maximum law. Okay. That is what I operate in. So when they talk about doctrine, that's kind of morality. Doctrine is like what you morally see as a principal body of philosophy. So the safety and the security of the people is paramount. That is the supreme law of the world.
Lotus, really quick before we close out. Why do you think the violence and the targeting and the warring on we the people, why do you think that it's being tolerated?
Well, because they want the people to fight amongst themselves. It's the same reason why
why is our own government allowed to affect terrorism on the people?
Because they're in coup. Because you have criminals running it. You have a president trying to rout it out, and he's being attacked. He was attacked before he even became president. He was under attack. They tried to make it so they could blackmail. You have to understand, that was a blackmail file, folks. That was a blackmail folder. That's what the FBI bought. That was a blackmail folder. The FBI is a criminal enterprise.
Yeah.
From the top down.
Apparently. For all intents and purposes.
Absolutely.
Completely.
It was executive order. I think my mom was saying
at the very, very least, they're complicit with the human trafficking that I know for a fact, because they're not investigating the crimes. In fact, it looks and it appears to me that they're the ones affecting these crimes, the human trafficking.
This is what's funny. Okay, this is an example. DACA is an executive order, is it not?
Yeah.
Okay, so some judge tried to tell Trump he had to reinstitute an executive order. It's like, no, he doesn't. I don't know who Trump's counsel are, but a judge has no authority to tell an executor of POTUS that he can't override an executive order. The judiciary has no jurisdiction on what executive orders are removed or not. Trump could wipe every executive order off the books, and that's within his power, and that judge has no power. The fact that you have judges telling the current executive officer of the United States that he can't undo a previous executive order is a violation of the balance of powers and is a coup right there, folks. But that judge don't care, because he's been paid by the lucrative office to promote a political agenda. See, that's the kind of stuff that is in your face, unlawful, and an act of treason. Explain to me within the balances of power how the current executive of our government can't undo a previous executive officer's writ. He can. He can just say, we're not going to do it anymore. How does the judiciary have any power to tell him he has to maintain an executive order? How does the judiciary have any authority over what the executive branch executizes through executive orders? How many times can I say the word executive with no word of judiciary in there?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. This is coup. Have you noticed that they put in the press the the judges are just throwing cases out left and right that are being brought by, that are actually showing problems. You have attorneys violating attorney-client privilege. You have attorneys violating rules of evidence. I mean, the Mueller investigation alone is fraught with hundreds of due process violations, from what I can tell. He's got 100 signed warrants. That's not lawful. That doesn't comply with the law. Those are blank warrants. They can't do blank warrants. That's against the law. That is actually, by the very principle, a blank warrant signed that no one had to go to a judge for to get to prove a foundational law to get, shows you the abuses of the Mueller investigation. That in itself is treasonous. The fact that you have judges supporting this treasonous activity shows you the coup in the judiciary to undermine the executive authority of POTUS. It is a coup upon its face, folks, and it's by the same people I can prove don't even have any authority in the law to be doing what they're doing. You're being couped by foreign corporations, shadow groups, criminal attorneys who have created your Democratic Party, your Republican Party, your Libertarian Party, brought to you by the private corporations owned by all the attorneys.
Yep. That's true, Lotus. I gotta get going.
But that's why you're in coup. You're in coup. That's why.
Well, I'm going to be closing out this episode, Lotus, but you and Ray have a really fun time at the fair.
We are. We're going to have a good time. We rarely get to do anything fun, and we have a friend of ours that bought us entry tickets, which is always nice, and we're going to go get some push pops, all the taffy and stuff. So everyone should take a day off and enjoy the weather. And you have to have some perspective. We can't be warriors every day. It wears us out too. So I'm hoping that generate a little bit. This is hard stuff for you and I. People don't really understand that we talk about the very base truth of things, and we talk about it very openly. And we have to, because we have to discuss what is potentiality of fact. And if you're not willing to discuss what's potentially a fact, then you're really going to be in trouble. And that's the one thing why I am so.
Well, that's why we are in trouble. We're at this point. But listen, Lotus, it's been fun while it lasted.
Have a good day, my friend.
Okay, you too.
A good day.
All right,
talk
to you next Saturday. Bye, Lotus. All right, guys, this has been another episode of Porthole to Justice, Off the Cuff, Lunch with Lotus. I'm going to close this out. This is an original Zeph Daniels song called Coup d'etat.